Hi, I'm Alex Berman from followingtherules.com. So we all know networking is important, asking questions, meeting people, and making connections. One thing that almost never comes up is how to keep track of all the people that you meet. When I first came to New York, I was on a mission to meet as many people as possible for business purposes. And after 2 weeks, I think I ended up with 130 people that I had to contact and keep contact with to build our relationship. So how do you make sure you follow up with each and every single one on time? Hopefully this video answers that for you. Today I'm talking with Keith Petri, SVP of Business Development at Edelia, frequent O-Hours user and founder of both I Got a Guide and Consult Us. He's going to show us the system he uses to make sure the people he meets never forget who he is. Hey Keith, how's it going?
Great. Thanks for having me, Alex.
No problem. So Keith's method has proven valuable for both personal networking as well as professional. As a note, just so that you know to pay attention to Keith, his company recently released a new mobile monetization product for publishers, and during the first week of sales, Keith sent more than 7,000 emails to 5,000 contacts, which resulted in a 22% response rate and 172,000 new users processed per day. So this guy knows what he's talking about.
Well, I definitely appreciate the intro. Not sure if there's much else I can add.
Awesome. So you use a couple tools for managing your contacts, right, Keith?
Yeah, I try to stay up to date with a lot of the new CRM tools and other sales tools available out there. But I always end up kind of sticking with what I've come to love, and that's Pipedrive. It's always open in my browser. It's simple, intuitive, customizable, and it really ignores the kind of lower level glamour metrics that other sales tools have, like closure rates, lead strength, etc.
That's awesome. Um,
Yeah, so I just to interject, I also use it for my personal networking management, which you kind of mentioned before, and it's a little bit tricky, but you just need to shift a few of the uh, settings in terms of having the stages be a little bit unstandard in terms of a sales pipeline.
yeah, that was kind of what I wanted to talk about, right? Because a lot of people use Pipedrive for uh, professional contacts, and not a lot of people I know use Pipedrive for personal or for personal like business contacts.
Yeah, it's a little awkward at first, but if you throw up on the screen the fake pipe I made for this video, you'll see that I have my contacts organized into stages, but the stages are actually just based on my type of professional relationship with that individual instead of being a flow from, cold or warm individual contact to contact made, needs discovered, proposal presented, etc. So for me, I have my contacts from I Got a Guide, Consult Us, even my family, my alma mater, Nifty, which is a nonprofit I work with. So this is how I organize my contacts, and more or less, if I meet an individual at an event, I classify them based on how I see them either providing value to me as a professional or how I can provide value to them.
So what do you say in the first email you send to somebody, and then in the second email?
So, first and foremost, in terms of following up, I never let a contact in my Pipedrive sit idle for more than a week. You always have to have a touch point within 7 days. I know there's a lot of communication, but it's not really fun to get behind, and it's not good to lose that momentum with a contact. And I don't mean sending a 5 paragraph long email. I more mean, simply sending them a tweet, commenting on a public post that they're in. They'll be sure they will remember you the next time you need them for something and need help with something. So in terms of actually following up, if you meet someone at an event, if you're at a meetup in New York, if you go to a Skillshare class, whatever it may be, uh, always follow up that night. 90% of the time, I follow up with everybody I meet the day or the night that I meet them. If not, the next morning before they even get to the office, they'll have an email from me. And in that email, note how you met, note what you talked about, and note if there was any follow up or next steps at that time. Otherwise, put something in there of value. Don't ask for anything. Just include something that will be of interest to them, whether it's a recent article or a mention of their business in the press or maybe a competitor, whatever it may be.
So where do you find these articles from?
Well, there's a lot of different methods to that, and I know that we discussed them prior to this call, but a great tool for following up. There's always one of two ways that I follow up with an individual, and it really depends on what the situation is. It's very easy to follow up after you meet someone for the first time, it's harder to follow up with someone after they haven't responded to you. So if you have a stale contact that you sent 3 emails in a row, all within a week of each other, all providing value and not necessarily having an ask, there's 2 different methods I use for following up. And the first is with context, which is what you're asking about. So I use a few different tools. Newsel comes top of mind, Percolate, also Job Change Notifier. So what Newsel does is it actually monitors your connections online and looks for mentions of them in the press. Percolate does relatively the same thing, and Job Change Notifier actually leverages your LinkedIn connections and lets you know each time they change or update their profile, which is good for horizontal shifts within an organization, vertical shifts, or even just jumps to a new opportunity. So with these tools, I'm more or less prompted every morning with opportunities to follow up with individuals in my network. So, I mean, if you just simply note a recent study in your field or mention a recent article in the press that's relevant to your contact, if you saw on Twitter that they're planning a trip to a location that you're really familiar with, send them suggestions for restaurants in the area, or if there's a museum exhibit that would be of interest to them. It doesn't matter. I mean, basically, just assuming that they're going to answer you when you need them is not necessarily true. But if you email them continuously and let them know that you're listening to them, they'll be much more open to the opportunity. So, I mean, below I have pasted, I think that you're providing them a little script in terms of a follow-up email. And so this is what I call the, taking responsibility, blame yourself method.
Mm-hmm.
And this I just used the other day. I emailed this company 3 times. They'd never responded to me. I felt that it was a strong lead. We had a good meeting, and they would be a valuable partner to my company. So I basically kept emailing them. I provided them updates on our product. I wanted to make sure I could partner with them, and no response. So what I did for my 3rd email is I simply just blamed myself, and I basically said, to sum it up, I apologize for the miscommunication. If the proposed partnership is no longer a priority for your firm, just let me know. Thanks for your time. Really looking forward to speaking. And if you assume defeat, it will sometimes motivate the other party to jump back onto the bandwagon and continue the conversation where it left off.
That reminds me a lot about, I was at Scott Britton's Skillshare class a little while ago. Scott Britton is another big sales guy, biz dev guy in Silicon Alley, for my readers. So he said kind of the same thing, right? Like, try to get to either a yes or no as quick as possible. So if someone's not following up with you, blaming yourself is a great way to either get that quick yes or no. So
yeah, Scott and I have definitely talked about this a few times and shared some war stories about how it may or may not work.
That's awesome. And then what you were talking about earlier with the different tools to keep yourself updated on, like, if they change jobs or anything, that's something I never thought of doing. Like, when I try to follow up with contacts, or like maybe I find out on LinkedIn that they changed a job, like I'll hit them up right away, but I didn't know that there were tools for that. So I'm gonna have to put links to those in the bottom too. All right, so we've kind of talked about like how we follow up with leads, how you make sure that everyone stays in contact. So what is the best thing that networking like this has done for either you or Edelia?
All right. So I'd have to say 2 months ago or so, I was at a happy hour at a VC firm in New York City, and I utilized one of these methods to stay in touch, follow up with the CEO of a prospective partner for Edelia. So this is professional. And so after numerous unanswered emails, I have to say I probably emailed this guy at least 4 or 5 times. I sent a few tweets. I connected on LinkedIn. Of course, he accepted, but no response. Kind of just, yeah, why not? Add another connection online. I tracked down his information. I looked out for an opportunity to coincidentally run into him at another event just to get some more face time. And so I saw that he was giving a speech, and I purposely attended it, took time out of my day, and shot him a note afterwards, kind of analyzing his points and providing him feedback. I even summarized the points of the other panelists there just for his review and convenience for him. And so, more or less, after that thoughtful email and the time I took to do that, this contact of mine did get in touch with me. And when all is said and done, after numerous other conversations, Adelia and this company are now finalizing a partnership, and it should be very fruitful for both of us.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was pretty happy with that.
And that's something that people don't normally think of either. Like, if someone's not talking to you, just go to one of their speeches, like, take notes on it. Why wouldn't someone want notes on something that they've talked about? Maybe they want to make a book or do a blog post about it. Like, that would just make it easy for them.
I think that in general, as long as when you do something and you don't ask for anything in return, I mean, this isn't a new concept. I didn't make this up. It's just being thoughtful, and people will remember that, and they'll value that, and they'll value you in turn.
Awesome. Well, thanks for talking with me, Keith, and sharing this great way to keep track of contacts.
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I was just going to say, be sure to check out Keith's blog on business development, and also subscribe to my YouTube channel for the latest updates, and anything you want to leave us with, Keith.
I really think we covered the basics. I know that we're planning to do another one of these videos on more canned messaging for professional purposes and how to manage your pipeline there. So look forward to that conversation. And if anybody has any additional questions or clarifications, just feel free to email me.
Okay. So for followingtherules.com, this is Keith Petri, and I'm Alex Berman. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Alex.